On today's video, we're talking about the raw truth, potentially a slightly harsh truth about being a real estate agent. What's it like? Let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jesse Lynch. I run multiple real estate teams around the United States. And on this channel and in general, what I'm really interested in is working with real estate agents who want to do things a little bit differently, want to do things on their own terms. So if that's you, come hang out for a while, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell to get notified so you can see all these videos that we're putting out. We put out a pretty good clip of videos on this channel. And if you're interested in working directly with me or just joining Real Broker, which is the brokerage I'm at, you can go to my website, jesselynch.co. That's JESSELYNCH. Nobody can spell that right, but it's also all over this channel, so I'm sure you got it. Today's video, we're talking about some harsh truth, some real truth, some raw truth about being a real estate agent. There may likely be some ambient noise, but it's a beautiful day here in the Twin Cities, and I got my windows open at my shop. So I'm just gonna start getting right into the video right now with basically the first truth. Maybe let's call it a hard pill to swallow, which is that income is completely variable. There is no fixed salary or hourly rate, with a huge caveat of there actually are some real estate agent positions where you're basically like a showing agent and you just get paid like a base salary, sometimes a base salary plus some commissions. But in my opinion, that's not who should be watching this channel. This channel is for people who want to do real estate, again, on their own terms, want to absolutely crush, want to dominate, want to change their life in a real way. I think that hourly rate or that salaried position, that's just another job. You could do any other job and probably have a little bit more stability in terms of time than just being, you know, that kind of agent. But that does exist, but not for most people, right? Most agents, no fixed salary, no hourly rate, and fundamentally no predictability at all. You only get paid through commissions, right? So you sell a house, you get paid some amount of commission from the sale of that house. You help somebody buy a house, you get paid some amount of commission for helping somebody buy that house. There's an idea that you eat what you kill in real estate. It's kind of a weird, brutal term, but that's the idea. You really only get paid when you help somebody get to the finish line of either a buyer or a seller in real estate. And so there are both downsides and upsides to that concept. For one, there's an undeniable risk to being a real estate agent. Again, unpredictability equals risk. Sometimes a transaction just tanks, it just falls apart. Sometimes the market goes crazy, right? And sometimes the market kind of takes a dive. Last year in the Twin Cities, we saw about a 20% drop in overall transactions. But don't let that scare you, right? We'll talk about that all over this channel. Don't let a decline in the overall market scare you. That doesn't have to take money out of your pocket. That doesn't have to take food off of your plate. Let other people take the hit because you don't have to. It's kind of a state of mind thing. It's kind of a mental thing, in my opinion. Very early on, I realized that real estate has just a way of kicking you in the ass. I remember talking to my friend about this who had been a realtor for quite a long time, and that's what he told me. He's like, you know, it's probably good that you learn this early on because real estate will do that to you. Basically, I was helping my mom list her home, a townhome, and we got it all ready to sell, put it on the market, and she was like, I don't want to move. So I did it for nothing. I did help my mom clean though quite a bit. So I guess that's the silver lining. And whatever, it's fine. I'm fine. I love my mom. There's no like hard feelings with that. But at the time it sucked, right? It was like, okay, I thought I had some momentum. I thought we were doing something cool. And we didn't. That probably would have been my first transaction, but it ended up just not even happening. She still lives in that house to this day. But real estate will kick you in the ass. Just stay sharp, don't take your eye off the ball, and do everything we're about to talk about, and you'll be okay. So another downside is that because there's this unpredictability, that you have to be adaptable. You have to be strong-willed, you have to be focused, like laser focused at times, and you have to be flexible. Shit will hit the fan. Okay? For sure, at some point in real estate, shit will hit the fan. It will be stressful. You have to be able to brush it off. You have to be able to bounce back, and you have to be able to like somehow, in the face of adversity, maintain a level of hustle that I would say is unusual, right? I think you have to be working at a level that is uncommon, right? The uncommon human does not operate at this level. And if you can do that, you can really do crazy things in real estate. And one last thought on the downside, you will never be more stressed in real estate than when a deal falls apart, especially if you could really use the money, especially early on. I think the best defense against that huge emotional drainage of having a deal falling apart on you is by doing really well in real estate. If you're doing really well and one transaction falls apart, it doesn't affect you that badly. I still, though, have a bunch of stress as it relates to the client, right? So I can remove myself from the stress that a client's feeling. So if a client is having something falling apart or something is really going wrong in a transaction, I have this unbelievable empathy that makes me extremely stressed. So even though the money doesn't matter to me in that one particular transaction, I can't help but just feel devastated for that client. With that unpredictability, with that high risk comes high reward. There are a lot of upsides, one of which is basically an unlimited earning potential. Some people think of a fixed salary as a great thing, right? They're like, yeah, I'm salaried, no big deal. It's cool, I make it no matter what. I think of that as a little bit of a handcuff. I really like the idea that I can earn however much money I can figure out how to earn. I say this on this channel all the time. If you're new here, I'm going to say this all the time, but the potential of real estate is unbelievable and unparalleled in my opinion, and it can be truly life-changing. Another upside is scalability, right? Basically, that's directly in line with the unlimited potential, but you could work a 9-to-5 job, you could work a salaried position, and the scalability, the benefits of scale will go to whoever you work for. But the beauty of real estate is that you can create scale within your own business and you can grow at a rate that would be very, very difficult to achieve otherwise. Working smarter at a 9-to-5 job can go maybe rewarded, right? Oh, hey, good job. That was really great. Really good idea. Working smarter in real estate could double your income, right? It could quadruple your income. If you figure out a lever to turn, you can crank up your income in a way that you can't at a 9-to-5 job. You directly reap the benefits of what you put into real estate. Another upside is that you can work on your own terms, right? You can do things your way. You can be a long-haired hippie who needs to trim his beard really bad, and really nobody can say anything about it. As long as you're getting clients, nobody can say anything about it because it's not illegal or anything like that. You can also take time off when you need. A couple thoughts on that. You have to make sure that you've designed your business accordingly. You can sort of be a victim to your own busy schedule, and actually early on, there was a time where I was getting really busy. It was very exciting, and then I was trying to figure out how I could take like a 5-day road trip. I think it was like 5 days. And I was so mortified to leave my business behind. But that's because I was self-employed, right? I didn't have a business. I just was working for myself. And if I leave, the business leaves too. So try to figure that out. Try to design your business in a way that you can leave temporarily and, shit doesn't hit the fan. Another upside is that in that scalability, you can create your own business and you can create your own business culture, right? That was something that I never really considered, is that I can kind of design the culture, I can design the lifestyle, ultimately I can design the office that I want to hang out in because I've managed to do this. This whole office is basically just a place that I want to be. Right? It's like a place that I want to spend my time, and it's awesome. I can also choose to work with agents who I am aligned with, right? I can choose to work with agents who work really hard, who have similar values to me, whereas in a 9-to-5, obviously you can't. If you own a business, you can do those things as well, of course, but there's a level of sort of being able to design and mold your business around you and around how you want things to be that is quite nice. And while I think that the upsides very much outweigh the downside, there are undeniable difficulties, which I think leads perfectly into the next part, which is that clients don't just appear, right? Clients don't just knock on your door and say, hi, I'd like for you to help me with real estate needs. It takes a lot of marketing. I personally am a big believer in digital marketing, in online marketing, and ultimately what I call personality marketing, which is getting you out in front of your potential client, right, down the road client, and making them know that you are competent, but also nice to be around, right? You're the kind of person that they would want to work with. And according to the National Association of Realtors, 99% of millennials start their home search online, 90% of boomers start their home online, and I don't know why Gen X just doesn't get included in that, but they don't. 77% of realtors are on social media in some way, and I would say probably less than 5% are doing it quite like they should. I have a video on this channel. It's called something like Share, Sell. It's an event that I did where I got to speak in front of a bunch of people on a panel. It was very fun, but we were talking about social media. We're talking about how to stand out on social media, how to get clients from the internet, more or less. But one very harsh truth I'd like to start this with is that whatever amount of work, whatever amount of content, whatever amount of effort you think you need to do to get a client or the amount of clients you're hoping for, you are underestimating that. It's not enough just to put up some videos and think that people are going to come flocking your way. It's not enough to announce to Facebook one time, oh, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and just wait for clients to come, banging down your door to work with you. That is not how it works. That's not how any business works. Again, you have to be uncommon among the common. That's the only way to stand out. And in real estate, you have to invest time or money or both to get clients. And there's 1,000 ways to do it. Again, on this channel, what I'm all about is basically social media, personality marketing, YouTube, video content, photo content, the likes. There's other ways, door knocking, cold calling, but I would rather do just about any job than do that. But that said, those can be very viable options for some people. I know there are people on YouTube that teach that stuff. If that's something that you're drawn to, cold calling, barf, or door knocking, I promise you, this probably isn't the right channel for you, but there are other channels who are gonna teach stuff like that and teach it really well. And so I think it's very important for you to be a student of the game, right? To be a student of social media or a student of YouTube or whatever platform, Reddit, I don't know, whatever platform you're gonna try to get clients, you have to be a student of that first. So if you're not licensed yet and you're thinking about becoming licensed, become a student of the platform that you want to grow on. I think a lot of realtors only watch videos on YouTube that are like how to do YouTube as a real estate agent, but what you should be doing is watching videos about how to crush on YouTube in general. And obviously that applies for watching a video about Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat. There are people teaching all of these things on the internet, right? Probably on YouTube. And so if you want to go down that road, dive all the way in, like absolutely obsess over those things, and you'll be able to excel at a rate that other people can't. Another thing that I believe is a weird truth that people don't think is gonna actually matter is that you have to be genuinely helpful. You have to actually want what's best for people, and that will pay off in spades. If you just are a salesman, a salesperson, you can probably make money, right? And you can probably make a decent living or maybe even crush. But I think there's sort of a long tail to actually being helpful that will pay off, and it will multiply in a way that just being, a sharp salesperson won't really pay off. It won't have the long tail. And the being helpful thing, it's so much of your marketing as an agent, and it's crucial, in my opinion, to be genuine in how you present yourself. You either have to be completely genuine so that when somebody meets you in real life, there is basically no change, right? Or you have to be an unbelievable con man, right? You have to be able to play a very, very long con where maybe you're one way, but you can be this way on the internet, and then you can continue to be that person at all times in the public eye. So really what I'm saying is it's much easier to be helpful and to be genuine and just be yourself, because the con thing is kind of silly. You're probably not as good at it as you think you are. And last thought on this, you have to hustle. The most common dilemma in real estate that people they're like, oh, nobody will work with me, right? I don't know, I don't have any clients. The dilemma there is not that nobody will work with you, it's that nobody knows you. Nobody knows that you are doing real estate. Not enough people, at least, know that you're doing it, and that is why they aren't working with you. Another harsh truth about real estate is that the workload is intense, especially to start. If you want to crush it in real estate, you have to put in some serious hours, probably even especially on nights and weekends. You have to be available to clients, not necessarily 24 hours a day, but much more than 8 hours a day, right? Much more than a 9 to 5. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're working 24 hours a day or 18 hours a day, but you do have to be pretty dang available to your clients at all times. If you were buying a house, you wouldn't like an unresponsive real estate agent. You would want the company that you're working with, AKA the real estate agent, to be available, right? If you were buying clothes, is there anything more annoying than wanting to go to a store or wanting to go to a restaurant and they're closed at a strange hour? That's annoying. And most restaurants that have wacky hours, AKA not enough hours, don't survive. And so you need to be working when your clients need you to be working. And speaking of work, there is no substitute for just doing the damn work. So many people get in and they hear about people, maybe on a podcast, somebody who's really figured out some way to like tweak and maximize their effort. And it seems like they're just so wildly efficient and that they hardly have to work at all. There may be some people who hardly have to work at all, but most people, especially early on, have to put in the work. So if you're coming into real estate thinking that you'll get to work way less than your full-time job, I think you shouldn't. There's just no way around putting in the work. It is important to set some boundaries, right? Flexibility is cool. It's one of the coolest parts of real estate. The fact that I can do what I want to do at certain times, right? I have a thing right after this, I can go do that, right? And I don't have to apologize to anybody. I don't have to request off or anything like that. I just have to schedule my day around it. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty satisfying to be able to do that. Again, there's no substitute for actually doing the work, but it's important to basically carve out a little bit of time that's just for downtime, right? To help you avoid burnout. And that might just be the last couple hours of the day. There was a long time where I was right on the edge of burnout for quite some time, and I basically would make a point to chill the most I've ever chilled at the end of a day, right? To be like, cool, I can't do anything, I can't look at my phone, I'm just in the most calm state I can possibly be at the end of the day, which would usually be like maybe 10 p.m. to midnight. For one, most business doesn't really happen at that time, but then I'd have to wake up at 8 a.m. and be working from 8 a.m. until sometimes 10 p.m. But as you go along, you have the chance to potentially share some of the workload. You can leverage people, right? That's a thing I talk about a lot on this channel. You can find really talented people to work with you. And you can also just maybe find a team that has sort of a team mentality where they can take over for you when you really need it, but then you're also going to have to take over for them when they really need it in turn, because that's how a team works. And if you can leverage people, right, to do the things maybe that you don't necessarily want to do, then you can have more time to focus on the things that you're really good at. I think it's really important to embrace tech, right? But tech is not just like a cure-all to difficulty, right? Tech is not the answer to work. Tech allows you to be more productive in the time that you're doing the work. And speaking of time, you have to master your time, right? You have to get really good at actually being productive. A lot of people just sit there and go, I'm working, but I'm not really doing any work, right? I'm at work, but I'm not getting anything done. So I think you have to figure out how to get stuff done, whether you're at work or not. There's a book called The One Thing. I think it's by Gary Keller. It's an interesting book. It's basically just like, if you have a large list of things to do, or if you have a goal that's far off, what's the one thing you can do right now that will eventually lead you there, right? Every single task, every single big goal can be broken down into what's the next thing. And so try to figure that out. For some of y'all, it's like, I don't know, start an Instagram, right? Some of y'all are much further along than that. By the way, if you don't know, if you haven't started an Instagram, it might be typing into Google, how do I start an Instagram? Which is pretty early, right? Yeah, you have a long way to go to your goal, but you'll just start chipping away at it. And what might feel very daunting doesn't necessarily have to be that daunting in the long run. I think another part of that is to find productive spaces to get things done. Whether that's an office at home, your living room, if you can actually be productive there, or a coffee shop, or an office at your brokerage. But I found that I was less productive at my brokerage's office than I was at my own office. So I found my own space because I can come here and be much much more productive. Actually, it was a smaller office before it was here. But basically, I found a really small office in an art studio that was pretty affordable, all things considered. I moved in there and I could just show up, turn on my filming lights, and just start to get stuff done. Finding low friction places where you can be productive is a massive, massive hack to beginning to grow your business. Sometimes the workload gets wacky, right? Sometimes the workload is not what you would expect and you gotta roll with the punches. A good friend of mine, actually Paul, who's on this channel all the time, he has a saying that I really enjoy, which is you gotta be flexible in this business. And it's really true. Real estate is crazy. The amount of things that Paul and I have done together that are really not real estate, right? They're nothing related to real estate is pretty crazy. Actually, that cactus in the back, that's not really work, but one time we took that out of a house and that was insane. Don't ask how we did it. It took a really long time. Probably one of the weirder and more you gotta be flexible in this business moments in certainly Paul's career. And lastly, as it pertains to workload, there's an idea of effort in, effort out. I do believe in that, right? I think there is no shortcut to just doing the work, right? There are efficiencies in doing the work. And if you can put in the same amount of effort, but be more efficient, then maybe you can create more overall productivity. You can't skimp on effort, but if you get more efficient, you can create more productivity. Another harsh truth is that real estate can be very, very expensive, but it is very easy and quite affordable to get in the door. I'm gonna do another video on this channel actually on that same idea, which is how much does it cost to be a real estate agent? To get in the door, it's cheap and it's probably too easy. I say that, but if it wasn't that easy, I might not have done it and I might not have changed my life for the better. So I like how simple it is to get started, but a lot of people get started, it's really simple, and then they just spin their wheel and they just drop out pretty much right away. But just because it can be expensive to be an agent doesn't mean it's not attainable, right? Just because some agents and brokerages have really, really high marketing budgets, right? And really, really high costs doesn't mean that it's not attainable and doesn't mean that you can't do it. You don't have to be wealthy to get into real estate. I certainly was not. Before I was doing real estate, I made $40,000 that previous year. So rather than just chucking money at problems or chucking money at things to try to get clients, you know, paying for Zillow leads, paying for leads, be smart with your money, right? If you have more time than you have money, use your time. And then if you start to have more money than you have time, start to use your money. I think early on, you gotta do it yourself. I think you have to do the tasks to learn the tasks, and then you can eventually hire them out. Basically, the biggest thing that maybe I would argue you don't necessarily have to do would be like a transaction coordinator. I started doing all of my own transaction coordination, and I got too busy to then find one, and that was an interesting problem. Anybody on my team has to use my transaction coordinator, and actually I pay for it. On my team here in the Twin Cities, everybody who joins the team has to use my transaction coordinator because they're really good and they don't drop the ball. So I need to make sure that the agents who are helping my clients fundamentally are taking really good care of them and not dropping the ball as it comes to transaction coordination. So I pay for the transaction coordinators on every single transaction because I don't want it to be an option. I don't want somebody to be able to be so cheap that they don't do it and then they drop the ball. But you gotta do things yourself early on, and I had to do things early on to realize the value of the transaction coordinator. Now when a new agent joins the team and I'm already paying for the transaction coordinator, they don't necessarily understand how huge that is, what a big time saver, and how much more efficiency is baked into the process because of all the systems that they've created. So do it yourself, but then if you can, outsource other activities, right? There are transaction coordinators, again, like I said, but there are also remote employees. I'm gonna do a video on this channel on how to find, let's say, a remote editor, but just a remote employee, also known as like a virtual assistant. I personally just like the idea of a remote employee better because that's what they all are really for me, and that feels much more organic and much more natural and feels like it just works with the overall culture that I'm trying to create here. And again, outsourcing tasks. tasks, leveraging money, leveraging talent is a really, really great way to potentially earn more. And as long as you kind of keep repaying the favor, repaying the talent, then hopefully you can retain them and they will continue to work for you, because that would suck if they didn't. But like I said earlier, clients don't just come knocking on your door. So you have to spend all of your time that isn't directly helping a client. Like literally 100% of the extra time has to be in marketing, has to be going toward getting new clients. So once you find things that work, keep doing that and don't take your eye off the ball. Don't, stop spinning the plate. If one thing works, you got to keep doing it. If you want to start another thing, you got to be able to keep that plate spinning. Otherwise, you will, I guess, really, really wish that you did. Another harsh truth is that real estate is like a strangely legal environment. And real estate transactions come with a lot of tricky legal jargon, right? And tricky legal situations that aren't necessarily that obvious, especially if you're not that fluent in legalese, right? There's a lot at stake in a real estate transaction, and messing up a legal situation could put you in hot water. It's really important to make sure that you are on top of and very familiar with the rules and regulations of your local institutions, but also national institutions, and just more or less just laws, right? There are so many laws. The good thing is that real estate classes will teach you a lot of the laws. That's probably the biggest thing that they teach you, is how not to get sued. The previous thing, they don't teach you how to get clients. There's basically none of that, right? They teach you how not to get sued, how to do the paperwork correctly, which is probably good. That's probably what they should be focused on, because that's some of the most important stuff. So stay in the loop with new things. New things are happening constantly. We just had the NAR lawsuit. If you're not familiar with that, Google NAR lawsuit. Like 20,000 people made videos on it. I did not. Actually, I did, but I didn't release it because 20,000 people did it. But NAR lawsuit, that's a new thing. How do commissions get dispersed? That changes. That's different based on different states. How do commissions get negotiated? That all happened in the lawsuit. You have to make sure that you're just paying attention to the new laws, the new realities that are coming down the pike. I think it's really important to talk to professionals who have been through it. If you have a really good broker, awesome. A broker who's good at communicating, who's been through it, right? Been through the ringer, had a lot of transactions, great. If you have a team leader who's done a lot of transactions and who has seen a lot of things, great. I also think that having a really rich understanding of the fiduciary duties that you owe a client is a huge North Star to everything that you're doing. If you can use those fiduciary responsibilities, fiduciary duties, as a guide to how do I handle this situation, very, very often the fiduciary duties will explain to you what you're supposed to do in a sticky situation, right? If you have something that comes up and you're like, I'm afraid that if I tell my client this, that they're gonna back out of the deal, you owe your client honesty, right? You owe them disclosure as well. I don't care that you think the deal is going to fall apart if you tell them the truth. You have to tell them the truth. That's your North Star. They'll teach you all of those fiduciary responsibilities, but as you're learning them, if you're new, right? If you haven't gone through the classes, as you're learning them, keep in mind, like this is the map. Will answer just about every single question that I have that comes up in a murky situation. So join a good team if you're new and you're afraid of that stuff. Have a really good network, so maybe know some good agents. Join a brokerage that will teach you that thing, that has masterminds, things like that. And basically, you can reach out to me, jesselynch.co. You can schedule a chat with me. We can talk about things, joining Real Broker, joining my team, starting an expansion team, however you want to do it. Would love to work with you. And that's what I got for this video. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.